We have a lot of happy moments, but I want to share a sacred moment in the life of our community, which is the installation of our 2 new rabbis. I am going to be intentionally brief. The reason is, in COVID, we became accustomed on Zoom to an hour-long service. I am now declaring COVID formally over. Simply because we can have an hour-long service and explore the depths of our tradition and learn and celebrate together. So we're gonna go a little longer, even though in truth we haven't been going for an hour as we've returned to the temple in larger numbers. But I just remind you, services used to be an hour and a half, believe it or not. And when I came here, even longer. And COVID really changed things in some wonderful ways and then some not so wonderful ways as well. And I want to say it's really good to be able to celebrate an installation once again with the fullness of a community and song and celebration, and be able to welcome 2 new rabbis with meetings in person, which was very different than when Rabbi Harper arrived to our community. So Ben and Vanessa, I hope you've gotten a chance to meet them in their short time here. But today we formally, Vanessa Jordy, who we're calling Rabbi Callman and not Callman. I'm here to correct that this evening. So I just want to introduce our 2 guests. So we'll be installing Rabbi Rosen, Rabbi Callman. Then we'll have our ritual of installation at the Ark. And then I've asked both of them to address us this evening, and then we'll conclude our service. It just so happens that the 2 mentors that they've selected to join us are longtime colleagues and friends as well. And so I'm thrilled to welcome Rabbi Kaye and Rabbi Katzew to our congregation. First, we'll hear Rabbi Steve Kaye, who met Rabbi Callman, and you'll hear more, but Rabbi in Denver, Colorado. Rabbi Kaye is the founder of Or Hadash, a Jewish coaching and congregational consulting practice that supports rabbis, cantors, educators, and executive directors. But I know him as a dear friend who is filled with wisdom and knowledge, and is now a fellow skier and a trusted confidant. And I'm really glad he's here with us. Rabbi Kaye has a unique expertise. He is the senior chaplain for the Denver Police Department and the United States Secret Service. And he's been a big influence on Rabbi Callman during her years in Denver. And so, Rabbi Steve Kaye, thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yes.
So I'm glad that Rabbi moved Kiddush to that earlier point, because do you know what it means when a rabbi takes off his or her watch, puts it on the pulpit, and you have 2 rabbis speaking? It means absolutely nothing. Shabbat Shalom. On this Shabbat, it is appropriate for me on so many levels to open my remarks with the words, Hine ma tov u'manayim, how good it is to be together as we welcome Shabbat, install Rabbi Rosen and Rabbi Callman, as we honor Joshua and Peter and Dash as they're called to the Torah for their bar bat mitzvah this Shabbat. I'm certain most guest rabbis standing here would say these words of Hine ma tov, as it's always good to be together, to celebrate together, to join in this beautiful Shabbat worship which we've had so far, and soon to break bread together. However, for me, it's a very special Hine ma tov. As a congregational consultant, rabbinic coach, I have admired and often spoken about Beth Elohim as an example of congregational, clergy, educational excellence from a distance. To be honest, I've never been on the campus, been in this beautiful building until today, stood on this pulpit, So it's truly an honor to be with you, the members of TBE, your clergy, your educational team, your programmatic and administrative team, and your board on this Shabbat. And thank you to my friend and my colleague, Rabbi Sissenwein, for extending this invitation as we officially welcome Rabbi Callman as a member of this sacred Beth Elohim community. When Rabbi Callman called me and she shared that she would be joining the TBE community as a member of the clergy team, I quelled and smiled as I had a strong sense of what she would encounter in her role as associate rabbi. As I mentioned, I have held Beth Elohim in high esteem, knowing that as one of the leading and most vibrant Reform congregations on the rapidly changing landscape of American Jewish life. Over the years, Beth Elohim has evolved and grown, adopted, and succeeded in engaging you, the members, in being part of a Kehillah Kedushah, a sacred community, with the innovative leadership of Rabbi Sissenwein and in sacred partnership with the entire Beth Elohim team. After dinner tonight, during our panel discussion, I'll share with you about how I've come to this conclusion, so we ask that you participate in this panel discussion. And I know in a few moments my colleague Rabbi Katzew will share his installation with you, Rabbi Rosen. I'm honored to share the pulpit with you, as he is known, Rabbi Katzew, as a rabbi's rabbi, a rabbi both in his wisdom and infusing rabbinic students with a sense of warmth and wisdom. And during his years at HUC on the faculty, he was always looked up to as a rabbi's rabbi. Honored to be with you, my friend. So in my installation to Rabbi and my charge to Rabbi Callman tonight, I want to talk to you about crowns. Most of us have heard the phrase, color within the lines. Let me affirm what many of you have encountered since Rabbi Callman's arrival at Beth Elohim. Rabbi colors very nicely within the lines. And at other times, she will deliberately and intentionally color outside the lines. Her balance of when to know and how to color in or outside of the lines is what makes Rabbi an excellent addition to the Beth Elohim community. Many years ago, in conversation with Rabbi Sissenwein and speaking about him to others about Beth Elohim, I said he was and still is the master of the Crayola crayon box. Not just this 8 or 16 crayon box, but really the large 64 crayon box. Rabbi Sissenwein, from my lens, has and continues to use his unique talent of choosing the right crowns, the right personnel in guiding Beth Elohim as a center of congregational excellence. So, Rabbi, I've been waiting for years to present you this line. Now, how Rabbi Callman colors is of great importance. It's vital to know what color she chooses, and then you need to be very aware what she's painting within or outside the lines. Your keen observation will provide you with important insights about Rabbi Callman and her rabbinate and your interactions with her. When Rabbi colors within the lines, it will be seamless, it will be smooth, it will be normative. Her actions and behavior will conform to the traditional roles and the expectations of a rabbi. When this occurs, most of you will say, "Rabbi, what a great sermon. Rabbi, what insightful teaching. Rabbi, what a thoughtful eulogy. Rabbi, you were so great with the kids. Rabbi, thank you for visiting me or my loved one in the hospital." However, when Rabbi colors outside the lines, it means to some degree, or maybe to a really large degree, that she will be thinking creatively and behave in an unconventional manner. This outside the lines coloring might be perceived by some as a challenge to your team, to the board leadership, and the operating norms of Beth Elohim. Let me assure you that this is not true. Coloring outside the traditional normative lines of congregational life is what makes Beth Elohim a center of excellence. Years ago, Beth Elohim was the first to publish an extensive, high-end graphic catalog of lifelong learning with a wide array of courses and opportunities to learn, while most other congregationals had the traditional adult boring mimeographic or stencil. Remember that smell? That stencil booklet. While most other congregations were using the organ singing at the conclusion of the services, "All the world shall come to serve thee," or some classic Adon Olam, Beth Elohim was at the center of new liturgical music. "Am I prepared, am I awake?" and so many other familiar melodies with Noah Aronson as your creative music artist in residence. And many congregations maintain a skeletal or media core team of educators, administrators, support, and clergy, while Beth Elohim continues to invest in its personnel like your two new rabbis, knowing the importance of talent and how it drives excellence. As a congregation, you have a history of coloring outside the lines of traditional congregational functioning and operations. Let me assure you that when Rabbi colors outside the lines, this is in a large part why she sought out and pursued being hired by her home community. I truly hope that her coloring skills is one of the many reasons why you engaged her as your associate rabbi. I was able to observe firsthand in Denver as the rabbi of one of my congregations that I belong to, how Rabbi often challenged the status quo. Rabbi sought out new ways to engage younger families who were seeking to connect with congregational life in meaningful ways that met their needs and interests. She understood that temple membership for the next generation would be very different than previous generations. Many commented on her standing outside the doors of the preschool or religious school at any time, engaging with students and parents. Rabbi listened to their stories, their needs, and creatively responded in new levels of family engagement. And Rabbi, when working with those in the process of conversion, always engaged her students in thoughtful learning and a process in meaningful ways. She welcomed their unending questions, even if she heard that same question 100 times before. And Rabbi is keenly aware that when is in the process of conversion, people are a little bit apprehensive or scared. And she again approached them with the Beit Din or mikveh, and she opened the doors to Jewish life with her warm embrace and her infectious smile. Let me be honest, Rabbi is still in formation. She will learn a myriad of ways at Beth Elohim. It's really up to you, her clergy partners, her educators, her administrative staff, the members of the board, and all the members of the community to guide her as she colors outside the lines of the sacred community that she now calls home. Let us take pride in the pictures that she will create with us as a pathway to sacred living. I ask that you affirm when her coloring resonates with you, when it enhances your connection with Jewish life and Beth Elohim, let her know. I also ask that you respectfully challenge her, engage her in conversations when her coloring is not in alignment or unclear. Through these conversations, your sacred partnership can only flourish in the days and years to come. And most of all, don't be afraid to take a crayon from her coloring box and color with her. I can guarantee she knows how to share her crayons, and together you'll color both inside and outside the lines of your sacred partnership. Rabbi, may you choose your colors with wisdom, and may you color with your rabbinic wisdom and insights as you continue to integrate yourself into this sacred congregation. Mazel tov in this sacred moment.
Thank you, Steve.
And Rabbi, I have for the rest of your clergy team
Thank you.
their
Beautiful.
boxes as well.
Thank you. So Rabbi Katzew is up here already. I will just say This is not only a wonderful teacher of Torah and professor from Hebrew Union College, but I'm about to go to Israel on Sunday. Well, 35 years ago, I was a student in Israel during the Gulf War. It was not an easy time, and I found myself there, and he was there as well with his wife, Lainey. And you may not remember, but I was alone on Passover.
Yes, I remember.
And you welcomed me around your table.
Well, I'll take that out of my speech.
And so it's great to have you back here at Temple Beth Elohim. Thanks.
Wonderful. I had the joy and the honor of being one of Rabbi Rosen's and actually Rabbi Callman's teachers at HUC-JIR when they were indeed rabbis in formation. I was one of the people who signed their smicha certificates, officially making them rabbis. But you have an even greater honor than I did. You can make them your rabbis, each one of you and every one of you. And I hope that's exactly what you will do. Rabbi Larry Kushner teaches that every person has a Torah, unique to that person, their innermost teaching. Some seem to know that Torah very early in life and speak it and sing it in myriad ways. Others spend their whole lives stammering, shaping, and rehearsing their Torah. Some are long and some are short. Some are intricate and poetic. Others are only a few words. And still others can be spoken only through gesture and example. But every soul has a Torah. And to hear another say Torah is a precious gift. For 4 years, I witnessed the precious gift of hearing some of Ben Rosen's Torah, a gift that he is now sharing with you. I learned that Rabbi Rosen's Torah includes wit and wisdom, both of which emanate from his soul. His eyes twinkle when his humor shines. He can lift a room with just his smile. Alan Moranis, a contemporary student, teacher, and practitioner of Musar, Jewish ethical discipline, wrote this: "A teacher's greatest joy ought to lie in being surpassed by those whom he or she has taught, and then learning from those students." I'm feeling that joy right here and right now, celebrating a former student, 2 former students who have become rabbis and who, as I said, I hope you will make your rabbi. Nell Noddings, who was a professor emerita of education at Stanford, believed that we would be living in a completely different world, one much kinder and much more compassionate, if everyone in a learning community from early childhood to senior adulthood knew that someone in that community was crazy about them. Ben, Rabbi Rosen, you care. You understand how important it is, how holy it is, to be the one who cares about each person, each teacher, each colleague, each student, to help heal a deeply wounded world. I was moved when I read an article Rabbi Rosen wrote while he was a second-year rabbi in formation, and I'll quote him. "Parker Palmer, founder of the Center for Courage and Renewal and author of the book The Courage to Teach, explains that teaching holds a mirror to the soul. Palmer's message is that teaching in its rawest form demands a level of self-knowledge not required by most professions. Sometimes teaching is seen as a one-way street on which knowledge is disseminated or transmitted from the teacher to the student. Despite the prevalence of this misconception, it's crucial to recognize that the goal of education cannot simply be the transference of knowledge. The goal of Jewish education must be the development of a human connection, teacher to student, and student to teacher, and student to student. It is my firm belief that meaningful learning starts with meaningful relationships. Out of that relationship grows trust, and from trust springs education that speaks to both mind and soul. For this to be the reality, teachers must know themselves as well, if not better, than those with whom they hope to connect. That was Rabbi Rosen. Ben, your insight into learning and teaching epitomizes why I loved you as a student and why you could be my rabbi. You have the courage to teach and the courage to learn. You realize that a teacher of Torah must have a Torah to teach, not only the one inside the Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark, but also a Torah that lives in the soul of the Rav, or Rabbah. We Jews are a people of storytellers, from the ribald Purim story to the redemptive Passover story, from shedding tears on Yom HaZikaron to dancing on Yom HaAtzmaut. The story of our people rises to Sinai and plummets to Auschwitz. We are not only storytellers, we are also story bearers. We carry our stories with us wherever we go. You have carried your story, your Torah, to Temple Beth Elohim, which means house of God, a kehillah with a reputation, as you've heard, for excellence, as a Beit Tfilah, a house of prayer, a Beit Midrash, a house of study, and as a Beit Knesset, a house of gathering. Your sacred responsibility is to help make these houses into homes for people who are open to prayer, to study, and to gather, to be a holy centripetal force that invites and welcomes people compassionately into a spiritual home. I know that this ceremony is called an installation, but I think it's a misnomer. Anyone who has ever met me would never ask me to install anything or anyone. I choose to think of this ceremony as a brit, a covenant between a rabbi and a congregation. And the most appropriate metaphor to describe the covenantal relationship between a rabbi and a congregation is a shidduch, a sacred partnership, a marriage with its own distinctive ketubah, a mutual reciprocal promise to nurture each other, to challenge each other, and to grow together. And so I am deeply honored to serve as an aid, a witness to the covenant between Rabbi Ben Rosen and Temple Beth Elohim in Wellesley, Massachusetts. Mazal tov to all of you.
Yasher koach. So Rabbi Katzew will be teaching as part of our morning minyan tomorrow and at 8 o'clock with Rabbi Kaye. Let us now all rise as we go to the Ark, as we formally install Rabbi Callman and Rabbi Rosen as our two new rabbis of Temple Beth Elohim. I'm going to have you, and then I'm going to have them face you. And I just want to share that Moses received the Torah, as you know, at Mount Sinai and transmitted it to Joshua. And Joshua then transmitted it to the elders, who transmitted it to the prophets, who then transmitted the Torah to the sages, the rabbis of the great assembly. The sages who taught to deliberate in judgment, raise up many disciples, and protect the integrity of the Torah. And now, Jordy and Ben, this chain of tradition that links Sinai links to you. as we place this Torah scroll in your arms and ask for God's blessing upon you in the presence of our community. So if you'll place the scroll in Rabbi Rosen's arms and Rabbi Callman's arms, and then together as one community, let us read the words on the page. Together, O God, God of our ancestors, bestow your blessings on Rabbi Rosen and Rabbi Callman on this day. Instill in them wisdom and righteousness, steadfastness and devotion, as they assume the position of rabbi in our community. Grant them a wise mind and a loving heart, and may they respond to every challenge with dignity. Implant within them a full measure of your compassion, that they may embody the words of our tradition. And now we ask for God's blessing upon you with the words, and we'll place our hands upon you. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace. We can all say, Ken Yehi Ratzon.
And so we welcome you formally into our community as rabbis of Temple Beth Elohim. Let's all join together with words of Shehechianu, thanking God for this moment.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh Amen.
I've asked our rabbis to briefly respond.
My first time in the TBE sanctuary was when I was 16 years old. It was in the old building, and my parents were prospective members looking for a new congregation. We were there to see what a Friday night service felt like, and of course, we were wowed. I was leaving the following week for EIE, now called Heller High, a semester of high school in Israel. Someone had told Rabbi Sissenwein that I was about to go to Israel for 5 months, and I now know that that someone had to have been Susan Karen. Obviously. And so during the service, he welcomed me onto the bima to receive a blessing before my travels. Everyone stood as we opened the ark for this moment of blessing, like we just did. And in a quiet conversation, Rabbi Sissenwein asked me what I was most excited about, what I was nervous about. I remember looking out at this entire congregation of people and thinking, don't we have to go back to the service? Everyone's waiting. But Rabbi Sissenwein didn't rush the moment, and nobody in the congregation looked impatient or annoyed. I stood before the open ark and received a blessing, and the message to my 16-year-old self was, there is space for you here. At 20, when I began to think about the rabbinate, I knew I needed a rabbi to write my recommendation to get into rabbinical school. So I called TBE. I sat in Rabbi Sapphire's little office, now in this building, and she listened to me share my Jewish journey, offered her guidance about the process to apply to school. She gave me her business card, which at some point I must have tucked into the cover of a book. I didn't see it again for over a decade, not until the day I moved my library into my office here upstairs this summer, when it fell out of whatever book it had lived in all this time and right onto the floor that is also the ceiling of Rabbi Sapphire's office, where she gave me that business card so many years ago. Through rabbinical school, I would check in with TBE, come by when I came to visit my parents. One year when my High Holy Day plans fell through, I called and said, hey, I'll be here for Rosh Hashanah. And the response was, amazing, what would you like to do? So I read Haftarah that year, Cantor Sufrin's loving and supporting hand on my back as I chanted. In 2019, I walked down this aisle to stand right here under the chuppah with my Matthew. We began our marriage in this beautiful space, Rabbi Sapphire officiating. As we exited the sanctuary to Siman Tov U'Mazel Tov, we took our first photos as a married couple sitting on the red velvet couch in the caring community room. Last winter, when we were here as I interviewed for this position, we retook those photos, this time of Matthew sitting on the couch, holding our then 8-month-old son Matan and feeding him a bottle. Sometimes the twists and turns that our lives take feel so random, and sometimes they really don't. From 16 years old, standing on this bima, not knowing anyone in the room, but feeling like I mattered, like I belonged, to standing here tonight, being installed by one of my great teachers, Rabbi Steve Kaye, alongside my friend and colleague, surrounded by this community. What a blessing my TBE journey has already been. In preparation for tonight, Carol Klingen interviewed Rabbi Rosen and I for articles in the Bulletin. One of the questions she asked was what I've been surprised by at TBE since I started in July. And my answer was, I think nothing. This community is exactly what I believed it to be. Warm and cozy despite our size, committed to doing good in the world, constantly growing and evolving, and. I am not surprised by this community, but sometimes I am humbled by it. I'm so grateful to come through the front doors every day to do this sacred work alongside colleagues and leaders who continually excite me about the vastness of our capability together. I'm so grateful for how welcomed and embraced Matthew, Matan, and I feel in this community. I'm so grateful that the feeling of belonging that my 16-year-old self felt continues to ring so incredibly true. And above all, I'm so grateful to be your rabbi. Shabbat Shalom.
Rabbi Rosen.
Everyone. Oh, some tough acts to follow. To paraphrase, as it were, I can speak, I promise. To paraphrase our patriarch Jacob upon waking from his dream, I was home and did not know it. When Rabbi Sapphire met Tess and I at Logan Airport just over a year ago with homemade Buckeyes in hand, Buckeyes are an Ohio delicacy if you have not had them, I was home. I did not know it. When I watched as Rabbi Sissenwein made his way through the cottage in Wellesley at our first lunch together, greeting each and every TBE member, of which there were so many, greeting them as if they were the only people in the room, living and breathing the tenets of relational Judaism, I was home. I didn't know it. When Cantor Zell graciously allowed me to use her guitar to play a nigun before my formal interview and quietly soothed my nerves by reminding me that everyone in the room was on my team, I was home. I didn't know it yet. When Cantor Rosenberg invited me to Gan Elohim to read a story, which is one of my favorite things to do, I was home. I didn't know it yet. And when I realized that I had the opportunity to work with the Lech Lechala, with our Rabbi Harper, I was home and did not know it. I had a sneaking suspicion, but I didn't know for sure. I have pretty strong gut feelings, and I tend to trust them. Just ask my wife, Tess, who I am pretty sure I was ready to marry after just barely dating for a week. Is that it? Yeah. So I followed my gut. And then I began to meet the temple members you intelligent, dedicated, hopeful, warm, musical, passionate, authentic Jews and allies who immediately disabused this Midwestern boy of the cold New Englander stereotype. When I walked into the Beit Midrash for my formal interview, my long-lost cousin of probably no relation, Eric Rosen, where's Eric? There's Eric. He was proudly wearing an Ohio State Buckeyes hoodie. So I darted over to what I assumed to be a fellow Buckeye fan, and breathlessly I said, "Oh my gosh, are you an Ohio State fan too? How could I be so lucky?" Eric smiled and replied, "I'm not, but I know you are." This is a community where people are seen for who they are, without pretense, pretension, and without exception. Temple Beth Elohim, this house of God, as Rabbi Katzew taught us, is so much more than this stunning campus. Rabbi Kaye, change that today from building to campus. Although it is gorgeous, it's so much more. It's a house of living Judaism. It's all of you who bring your authentic selves and passion for Jewish life to TBE, whether you're in this sanctuary or joining us on Zoom from Delray. When I first arrived at TBE, I was home, and it really didn't take me long to realize that. As I said in the very first sermon that I delivered to this congregation in July, I feel like I've won the lottery. For years, I've dreamed of the day when I would be called to serve a synagogue community as a rabbi. And although I trace that back to senior year of college, my mom actually reminded me last night that apparently I came home from summer camp sometime in 6th grade, said I wanted to be a rabbi, and like a week later, that was gone and replaced with, she did an impression of me as an angsty teen at that point, which I'm not going to repeat for you, but I'm sure she'd be happy to if you find her after the service. So the opportunity to learn from my colleagues, not just my clergy colleagues, but the people I work with, program staff, the ed team. Hey guys. All the people here. To serve and learn alongside this community, it's a blessing for me and for my family. Though by no means an exhaustive list, I would like to say a few special thank yous. I want to thank Rabbi Jan Katzew, my dear mentor and mensch par excellence, and his wife, Cantor Lainey Katzew, for being here tonight. I'm feeling really grateful that my parents are here, Jeff and Debbie, my in-laws, Dale and Pat, and of course, my wife, Tess. For me, the sun rises and sets with her, and it fills me with such joy to see just how warmly embraced she has been by this staff and this community. So now to quote Jacob directly, Manorah hamakom hazeh. How awesome is this place? Ein ze ki'im beit Adonai. This is none other than a Beit Elohim, a house of God. Shabbat shalom and todah rabbah.
Yasher Koach, Rabbi Rosen, Yasher Koach, Rabbi Callman. As we tend to do here, we tend to follow uplifting words of Torah with a little bit of music. And I was inspired by the words of Eli Flyer, who has a take on the prayer Tefilat Haderech, which is a prayer that we say when we are about to embark upon a journey. And while the journey has begun, it's only just begun. And so we ask for a blessing upon you, upon us, as we journey forward together. May our steps be light and our thoughts unburdened. May our eyes shine bright with the Torah we learn. Let us make new friends. Call no one stranger. Never meet dead ends. the journeys we have yet to travel on. Please bless our road, and may we learn from where we came from. Let us not forget to stop and smell the flowers. May we look ahead, but live for every passing hour. Plant us on firm ground to stand for what we believe in. Let us make a sound for those silenced and those lost in weeping. Please bless our road, the journeys we have yet to travel on. Please bless our road, and may we learn from where we came from. Please bless our road.
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 I think you know the words. Please bless our road. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Please bless
Our road, the journeys we have yet to travel on. Please bless our road, and may we learn from where we came from. Please bless our road, the journeys we have yet to travel on. Please bless our road,